Hello and welcome to Meet Houston Missions. I'm Paul Cannon, attorney at Simmons and Fletcher and host of the Simmons and Fletcher Local Missions podcast. I am very excited to have my guest, Arden Stone, the CEO and co-founder of Three Graces, Texas. She's going to talk to us about what Three Graces does and what they're all about. And this is a great chance to learn about volunteer opportunities and opportunities for support. So without any further ado, Arden, would you please tell us about yourself and about Three Graces and how the two came together?
Of course. Thank you so much, Paul, for having me on today.
Absolutely.
I have actually been working in nonprofits for most of my career. Funny enough, I actually started out in political fundraising, which can be a little crazy in the city of Houston, and quickly decided that nonprofit was going to be my way to go. I really believe in giving back and making a better community for not just where we live, but like where I'm going to raise my children and my family. And spent most of my life working with nonprofits, and then about or 16 years ago, my husband and I had our fifth child, and he was diagnosed shortly after that, being on the spectrum. And I really kind of decided to take what I had been doing for so many years, working in the community, and focus that on a mission that directly impacted my family. And I started working in with nonprofits that work with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And about 2 years ago, I really decided that I could take those areas that, Houston has some great nonprofits that work in that field, but I really started talking more in the community and meeting with community leaders and educators, and, decided that there are some gaps that needed to be filled. And that's how Three Graces came about. And we are a nonprofit working in the greater Houston area, and we are aimed at improving the lives of people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, or people with IDD is how we shorten that, by building strong foundations through education, corporate accountability, and workforce diversity. We have this vision that the future of Texas is a state that's dedicated to inclusion, and a state that's going to come together on all fronts to help eliminate that negative stigma and discrimination that comes along to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we're going to do that through awareness, acceptance, and inclusion. And so we created three programs. Our first program is a K12 Inclusion Program. We work with public and private schools, and we develop a program specific to their school. It is a year-long program. We come in, we do different trainings and activities with that school. It is catered directly to the school, so the school actually gets to choose what they would like to focus on. So it can be disability awareness. We can do people first versus identity first language training with their staff and their students. We can really do like lesson plans with their teachers to help them, integrate those students in the classroom. We come in and try to bridge that gap that, so many of us are used to kind of seeing in those K through 12 schools, where you have your students that are in special education and they're kind of kept away from the rest of the population of the school. And so we want to, bridge that gap and make these, teach these students and these staff that, we all want the same thing. We all want a great education. We all want to be represented in the school system. We all want to see ourselves through that system. And that's what helps us build our self-confidence and helps us build what we need to be successful in life. So we want to start that at that young age. We want to start that awareness and then move on to acceptance so that we can build a society that's inclusive. So we come in, they can select a training, and we can do anything, it can be specific to their staff or their students. And we come in and we do one training a month, and then we do one activity a month. And the activities can be anywhere from like hosting an inclusion week to integrated PE classes, integrated music classes. We come in and we do book drives that help them, put more books that are focused on people with disabilities within their libraries. So whatever it is that school thinks is going to be the most beneficial to their students and staff, we come in as an organization and we provide that. We don't charge the school for anything that costs anything, we take on as an organization. So if we need to bring in a special trainer or something like that to come in and do a specific training they want or specific activity, Three Graces pays for that. And then at the end of that program, They get, each school that participates, that completes the program, gets a $1,000 grant. And all that we ask is that they spend that grant within their school, continuing their inclusive activities. So it can be anything like within their, SPED department or within their regular classes to help, keep that inclusion going year after year. The thing I like the most about this program is not only do we come in and we do these different trainings, even if the school completes 1 year, they can come back and apply and do it again, as long as the next year they select different trainings and different activities to go through the program again. So we allow them to come back year after year. It's not a one and done. We allow them to come back. And sometimes, especially when you get in that middle school age where they're there for 3 years, it is a good program to come in and do. Sometimes they just want to focus, well, let's focus with the sixth graders. You've got different sixth graders coming in each year, but you can work with them for the next 3 years, and then maybe they can come back and say, okay, we want to start it again with this next batch that's coming in.
Wow. Now, how many different schools? You said y'all have been doing this for about 2 years. Is that correct? How many different schools have you done this with?
We've done this with a handful of schools. So we just launched our programs in the last year. So we've worked with probably about 4 different schools initially. And that was what our goal was, to only work with about 5 the initial year, just to kind of see how it was going to work. We are now talking with school districts on a whole level and trying to find out which one of their schools they would like to focus on, or where we can come in and do this. We also have a couple of schools where we've just come in and done like a one and done training. Like they're not sure they want to go through the whole program yet, or they came in late. And so they're like, well, can you come in and just do a training with our staff and our students on people versus identity first language training. So just kind of that awareness aspect of, things we should or shouldn't say, or coming in and doing like bullying prevention within the school districts, especially within, we did a training a while back with a school sports program where we came in and we worked with the athletic director, and we sat down and we did an entire training with all of their athletes. And we went through that. It was a type of bullying prevention, but it really was, as leaders within the school, ways you shouldn't be acting. And it was really to stop the use of, negative discriminating language within the locker room. Gotcha. And then letting that spread throughout the school, like being aware that you could have teammates on your team that might have a sibling or an aunt or a parent that has a disability. And so when you say things in the locker room, you think it's not hurting anybody's feelings, but there could be teammates of yours that are being quiet because they don't know how to react to what you're saying. And really just making them aware as students that you are student leaders on this campus, and not just the students on the campus that follow you, but the younger students that come to the games and stuff are watching you. And so when you behave a certain way or you say certain things, they pick up on that. And so making them aware that, it's not okay. It's not okay to behave this way. And it really was very eye-opening. They were high school students. And so it was very eye-opening. We got a lot of feedback from coaches where they started noticing players correcting other people at lunch and in the hallway of, hey, it's not okay to say that. It's not okay to do this. So it really was rewarding to us that high schoolers were listening to us. Were listening to us.
I mean, have you come talk to mine.
Yeah, I'm a few high schoolers, so I know how that goes. But we really enjoy this program because we feel like it comes in and it starts that off early of making students aware of differences within their friend group, and that it's okay. We're all different. Nobody's the same, right. And we want to embrace those differences.
Well, now I think I heard you say that was one of 3 programs that y'all do. Tell us about the next program that you guys do.
So the next program is this program probably gets we get the most volunteers and the most effort to raise money for this program. It's our inclusive scholarship program. And this program focuses on providing scholarships to students with intellectual and developmental disabilities to pursue college or trade school or any kind of career training course that's going to help them to find integrated employment. And we do this because this is a huge population that, they're not in the workforce. And I think that some people don't realize, in 2021, there was in the census, 13% of non-institutionalized Americans had a disability. That's 42 million people.
Wow.
Texas has the second largest number of those individuals living within the state. And within that, only 23% of them are employed.
Wow.
So that is a huge number that I don't think that people realize, that this population, it's very hard for them to become employed. And if they do become employed, a lot of times it's part-time, or it's not at the wages that somebody who doesn't have a disability would be earning. And so we want to change that. We want to make sure that they are empowered and that companies are aware that we can help them get to where they need to be for you to hire them. Because that big gap is because they don't have that education. In the state of Texas, only 9% of people that have a college degree had a disability. That's a huge discrepancy. And, we're not advocating saying somebody has to have a college degree to get a job,
Right.
but we want to be able to help them to, if they want a college degree, to get to that point.
You want the
wanna be able
opportunity to be there.
Exactly. And if it's trade school, we'll send them to trade school. We had a participant that wanted to become a forklift driver, which we thought was amazing. This is great. But when you start going to some of these companies, they want them to already have experience or have some kind of training in that area already. And we were kind of like, he doesn't have that. Like, he just came out of high school. This isn't, he doesn't want to pursue college. This is what he wants to do. And so it was really working with a few different companies and being able to find him training and then help pay for that to get him to that point, so that they could hire him. And, a lot of people don't realize, when you have a child that has an IDD, a lot of your financial support goes to other things that child needs. And so saving up for college and post-high school education doesn't become a priority. You're trying to get them, the training that they need, the doctors that they need to get in front of. And so, we want to be able to step in and say, okay, now let us help you get them to that next stage and help them become productive in society. That's what they want.
Wow. Okay. I do want to come back to both those when we get to talking about volunteer opportunities and that sort of stuff. But before I jump into that, tell me about the third program that you guys are involved in.
So our third program is Corporate Connections, and this is similar to the K12 program. We come into different local businesses and companies, and we will come in and we set them on. Their course is a little bit longer. With the K12 program, it's a 6-month course. They have 6 different trainings and activities, and with the Corporate Connections, it's a 10-month program where we will come in each month. And similarly, we will do a training with their employees and an activity with their employees. And the company gets to pick what they would like to do, whether it's, disability awareness, whether it's inclusion in the workplace, whatever kind of training it is that they are looking for within their company. And then we come in and do different activities. And of course, it's on a different level. We can do what we call ambassador trainings within the company, where we will bring in participants from our scholarship program and let them work with different staff members on learning to interview skills and resume building and that kind of stuff within the company, giving them those opportunities to volunteer within that. We come in and just do those kind of activities within the company and really try to help create this inclusive workforce and work with that company to make them realize that, people with IDD bring a different aspect and different kinds of qualities to the workforce, and how it can help change their company and the culture within that company, but the different skills that they can bring that you might not get from, somebody else, just because of the path that they've had to take to get to that point.
Right. And, we all go through our own walks of life and take our different paths, but how we perceive something can be entirely different than the person next to us who, may have, things that we take for granted, they struggle with. They look at this and go, how can I solve this problem? Whereas we don't even notice there's a problem. And so having somebody like that on your workforce team, particularly if you're in any kind of a company that has a public service side to it, or is dealing with is open to the public to come in, that sort of thing, where they're going to have customers of all walks of life. There's a value to having somebody on your staff that's going to
Mhm.
see those problems that you're blind to,
Right. And I think it's just making them realize, like they've come through this separate path. And so sometimes parts of their disability is learning to think differently, think creatively. So it helps them solve problems differently. It helps their minds think differently. I tell a lot of people, my son is now 16. He is the baby of, his four older siblings. So, it's a lot. But I tell people constantly, like, this is a child who he amazes me every day. And he, I can remember he would be 5 and 6 years old and on a computer playing a game, and it wouldn't do what he wanted it to do. So he would just go into the backside and reprogram it and make it do what he wanted it to do. And you're
Oh, wow.
thinking, he's 6 years old. Like how, but it was just the way his mind thinks. And now, having conversations with him, he's like, well, I want to do like cybersecurity and I want to be, computers and that kind of thing has always been his thing. And so it's, the way that, I tell people all the time, the way his brain works is not the way my brain works. I
Right.
would never, I could never figure these things out. And so it's, it's a gift. I think that we label them as people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but in reality, I think it's just, people with different abilities. They have
Yeah.
these different gifts that we don't have. And, and I think that we are blessed to have them in society and in the workplace.
Well, and the way I always say it, God created us all defective. We're just
Mhm.
defective in different ways.
Yep, that's
So
exactly right.
that's what
That's
makes us all
exactly right.
different, and that's what makes us all beautiful. So
Yes.
it's a very it's something you don't want to get caught up in focusing on differences and things like that. You want to look at the fact that there are advantages to having different viewpoints and different ways of thinking. And I think that's
Mhm.
that's huge. And that sounds like what your organization is out there teaching, which is awesome. Tell me a little bit about the volunteer opportunities that you guys have with the organization.
Yeah, so we have different opportunities, whether it's being involved with our programs or being involved with our events or even our board. So our programs in the on the K-12 level, we're always looking for volunteers, especially within the schools, parents and stuff like that, to help us get introduced to schools, but also that want to come in and help us do these activities or even help us do these trainings. I think that there's people out there that have, different viewpoints and different ways of looking at disabilities and people with disabilities. And so there's always people that have, some type of training that they'd like to offer that we would love to get them on our list of choices, or even being involved with our activities within the schools of coming in and helping us do an integrated field day or an integrated music session, or helping us to build out their libraries and stuff like that within the schools.
Wow.
So we're always looking for those kind of volunteers.
Well,
uh,
thinking like a parent with one kid that's in college and one that's getting ready to go to college, these sound like things that if somebody were to be an ambassador for their school in order to connect your organization with them and to help bring in and teach these kind of inclusive courses, that could be a really glowing standout thing on a resume that somebody was applying to college with nowadays, that they look at so
mhm,
much more than just grades when they're considering your application. I could see where they
yes.
someone could really benefit being involved in something like that.
Most definitely. We have quite a few that were with have volunteered with me in the past with other organizations with high schools, and now they're in college and are always like reaching out, like, I'm home for this, like, I'm home this amount of time. What can I help you do? What can I come into the schools and do? Or even like helping introduce us to their past teachers,
Awesome.
and helping us get involved. So definitely, yes, there's not really like an age limit on that volunteer. We're always
Right.
looking for student volunteers and adult volunteers. And
Wow.
then the same thing with like our corporate connections and our inclusive scholarship program. We're always looking for those volunteers that want to help us with interview skills and resume building, even those that are looking to help us find those opportunities within companies or find those career training courses. We're always looking for, volunteers that kind of have their finger on the hub of the city. It's so great and it's so
Right.
large. And there's, we had a board member who recently had suggested, oh, did you know this company offers this kind of training? Let me reach out. I bet we can, coordinate something to work with them. But we're always looking for, and even those companies that are willing to have us come in and bring participants in and do a tour and talk to our participants about different job opportunities and what kind of education or training they need for those job opportunities. We're currently working with, we have a board member that works with the Space Cowboys. And so
Hmm.
we are creating a program with the Space Cowboys to be able to come in and bring our participants through and do a tour of their facilities and learn about all the different job opportunities they have within the organization and within the stadium, and what kind of education or training they need, if they need any, and then how we can work for anybody that wants those opportunities, how we can work with them to get there. Do we need to help, build out a resume? Do we need to help with their interview skills? So those kinds of trainings are always, we're always looking for volunteers to help us with that. I think that even those students that we have 2 participants now that are working with volunteers to help create their college essays and other scholarship essays, but helping them write these college essays and address the difficulties and the things they've gone through being a person with an IDD, and how they want to overcome that by getting their education. So I think helping them learn to advocate for themselves. Of course, then we have volunteer opportunities. We do 2 events a year. We do a one pot cook off in the fall that's coming up, and then we do a fun golf event in the spring. So we're always looking for volunteers for like the events or on those committees. And then we currently also have some board positions that are open. So those that are looking to get a little bit more involved in what our programs do, and advocating for our programs out in the community, we have a few board positions open as well right now.
So, how many employees do you guys have, and how many volunteers do you guys put to work on a regular basis around there?
So we have only a handful of employees.
Okay.
We are mostly volunteer driven. And we keep the volunteers busy year round, whatever it is, depending on whether they are program volunteers. It kind of comes and goes with program and volunteers. They're a little bit more busy at certain times of the year than other times of the year.
Right.
But we are primarily volunteer led. We have about 100 volunteers right now that we keep busy, and that ranges from anything from, we have volunteers that work on grant research for us. We have volunteers that work on like corporate funding opportunities for us, but we also have volunteers that are out there, contacting schools for us and working within the school communities, trying to, get us in front of different schools and different programs to help introduce our programs to them. And then we have, our volunteers that work with our scholarship participants.
Awesome. And what kind of scholarships do you guys give out to any on a yearly basis, I should say?
So our scholarship, it just depends on how much they are needing to get into, how much we have raised for that program, and how much they are needing to get through their program that they're working on.
Okay.
The college scholarships are a little bit different because we would love to be able to finance somebody going through, them going through all college. We're just not at that point yet. So it's what we can help them with, and then with the college program, we work a lot with the college to not only find what's going to be the most beneficial programs for them while they're in college, but also all the college opportunities for them to receive funding from different organizations to help make sure that their education is paid for. When we're talking about like trade schools and career training programs, it's a little bit easier to just pay for that outright. Provide the scholarship for the entire training, because it's not as costly as a college education, as we all know. But really just kind of working with them and what their needs are, and how we can assist in the best way possible to make sure that they're successful.
And so, you indicated you'll have 2 major fundraisers you do every year. I would assume you probably have opportunity for donations and
Mhm.
on the website and that sort of
We
stuff
do.
as well. Is that kind of the primary source of funding the organization, these events and the website funding?
So yeah, so we do the major events, raise the majority of the funds for our programs, and then we do private donations through the website, and then we also have a couple of volunteers and myself that work on grants. We've received a few grants that we try to,
Wonderful.
I've worked in nonprofits for so long, and I understand the dirty side of nonprofits, the operational side, and
Hmm.
we know that that has to be paid for. So I try to make sure that when I'm looking for funding, I really try to focus on my grants to fund all the operational stuff and all the non-pretty stuff. Because I want to make sure that when people are giving us donations and people are giving us money and helping us raise money through our events, like I want that money that's being raised for that event or that donation to go directly towards that program that
Right.
we say it's going towards. And so
Yeah.
we are very good about making sure that the events and the private donations go where we say they're going to go. They go directly into those programs and it's paying for those programs. And we work on grants to fund all of our operational costs.
Okay. So if people want to learn where they can go to make donations or how to get involved as a volunteer or even how to get involved in these fundraisers, where can they go to learn about that?
They can go to our website, www.3-graces.org, and it will give all kinds of information about all of our different programs. And you can go through to volunteer there. And then it'll also give them an email link where they can email me directly and let us know how they want to get involved, and we will put them to work.
And I assume if schools want to reach out, or school administrators or people want to reach out about getting their school involved with your organization, or getting you involved with them, I should say, can they go straight through the website as well?
They can go straight through the website and get involved with us, and it has all of our contact information is on there, and they can just get involved and they can just reach out, and we will come meet with them and figure out what it is they want to do, and we will help them do it.
What are the future goals of Three Graces?
I mean, I would love to, get to a point where, we have come in and we have worked with most of the, major school districts within the greater Houston, Galveston area, and they are kind of doing this on their own. Like we no longer have to come in and teach them how to do these trainings, that it's just natural that they are picking this up in the classroom and doing this. I would just really love to get to a place, where students with, IDD are given all the same opportunities that students without a disability are given. I often tell people that, being a parent of a child with an IDD, we spend most of their lives teaching people with IDD how to interact with the public and how to interact with people in society, but we don't ever spend time teaching people without a disability how to interact with people with a disability. And I think that that's what we're really trying to change here, is to change that story and, make them realize that it's just natural. They want to be treated like anybody else, just with
Right.
respect and honesty. So,
And it needs to be a two-way learning process here.
mhm.
If we're going to function as a normal society, then it
Yes,
only makes sense that everybody needs, you can't just make part of society understand how to do it, and the other half has no clue. So I think what
right.
y'all are doing is right on point as to what needs to be done. Y'all have spotted a lack, I guess, in our current system that needs to be filled, and you're stepping up and filling it, and that's awesome.
Thank
Um,
you.
so is there anything else that about the organization, anything coming up that you have needs for that you want to share with us, or anything I have not asked about that you feel like people ought to know?
I mean, I could talk for hours about.
I bet.
But, no, I mean, I think that we're always looking for those opportunities, and, we're always looking for people that, want to be involved with us. And if people see a different need out there that's not getting addressed, let us know. I mean, we had a participant last year that had reached out to us, and their child was a little bit more severe, had a little bit more severe disability, and was looking actually for help and assistance to attend a camp in the summertime that helps them with their social skills and helps them with that. And at the time we really were like, oh, that's not really what our scholarship program does. And then we met with the board and we just kind of said, oh, but why don't we, like, if that's a need that needs to be filled, and this is a child that is more severe and is not going to have those opportunities to go to college or a trade school or something like that, then why aren't we doing what we can do to enhance, and help them with what they do need help with. And so we had a couple board members that actually stepped up and paid for them to attend camp. And it was just, really a realization, as a board and as an organization where we said, we want to be open to whatever it is that's out there that is going to help people with IDD, get farther and, create this inclusive city that's going to then hopefully spread and create this more inclusive state, where we can, pride ourselves on what it is that we're doing out in the community.
Well, they say love is infectious, and that's, what y'all are trying to do. If you start small and let it
Yep.
grow, it can take over the world. And let's
That's
hope
right.
that you guys are very successful at that. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for being on. This has been Arden Stone, the CEO and co-founder of Three Graces, Texas. If you have interest in being involved in helping or volunteering with an organization that helps people with IDD have a more inclusive and better life, great organization to reach out to and get involved. If you are somebody who has a missions and would like to have it promoted for free in the Houston area, that is, the missions is a project which enables volunteers to get involved in the Houston area. Please reach out to me at Paul Cannon. And my name is Paul Cannon. I'm an attorney with Simmons and Fletcher. My email is pcannon@simmonsandfletcher.com. And my phone number is 713-932-0777. Thank you so much, Arden, for being on.
Thank you.